morning. My name is Dr. Lanisha Mako Ridley, and I am the co-project director of the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. On behalf of myself and my co-director, Jeanette Mejias, we want to welcome you this morning to Breaking the Cycle, Addressing Chronic Absenteeism in Schools. This webinar is especially important because September is Chronic Absenteeism Month. So we wanted to highlight the major problem that chronic absenteeism is, not just in New Jersey, but in this country. Chronic absenteeism is linked to poor academic performance, kids having a higher risk of dropping out, and negative impacts on social and emotional development. It is not something that just affects the school community, it affects the entire community. Therefore, today we're going to talk to families, students, educators, and our community partners about some tips, tools, strategies so that we can address chronic absenteeism in our schools. I will now turn it over to Kim Rivers.
Thank you, Lanisha. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Rivers, and I am the training coordinator for the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. And now I'm going to pass it over to Tara.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Tara Semanek. I am the Southern Regional Family Engagement Specialist working along with Faith.
Thank you, Tara. Good morning, everyone. My name is Faith Victor. I am the Northern Regional Family Engagement Specialist. And now, Alexis.
Thank you, Faith. My name is Alexis Pratt. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist. And over to Stephanie.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Stephanie Babbis, the newest member of the Family Engagement team, and I am the coordinator of Start Parent Groups. Glad to be here this morning, and I'm going to pass it back to Kyrie Tyler, sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kyrie Tyler. I'm the virtual learning content developer. I will now pass it back over to Kim to continue our presentation.
Thank you, Carrie. So for those who are not familiar with SPAN, SPAN is the parent center for the state of New Jersey. Our organization is all about empowering families and educating professionals on everything regarding education and health and disability rights for students. We provide technical information, training, to help navigate all these systems related to social services and education. And we have so many programs, over 45 in total, that cover everything from mental health, childcare, child welfare, juvenile justice. We have a network of more than 40 national, regional, and local programs. And we all about serving the community and helping everyone become empowered to be their best advocates. And now on to Lanisha.
So let's talk a little bit about the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. We are one of those 45 programs that Kim just spoke about. SPAN received money from the U.S. Department of Education for a 5-year grant to fund the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. We are the statewide Family Engagement Center for New Jersey. We're a centralized information hub about family engagement. That's all things family engagement. We're here to work with educators, families, and our community partners on how to enhance family engagement in their schools. We do that through creating bridges and collaborations between those partners and providing tools and strategies that they can use to enhance family engagement, not just at school, but also at home and in the community, because it takes a village to make sure that our students are improving their academic performance. We provide in-person workshops along with online webinar series like today's webinar. But most importantly, we work with our partners because our ultimate audience, our ultimate partner are our youth. We want to make sure our youth are engaged and empowered so that they can tell us what they need to be successful. And that's what we're here for. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Kim.
Thank you, Lanisha. So, what is chronic absenteeism? Big topic. Well, in very simple terms, it means that you have missed 10% of school, that there is a pattern of a student not showing up. And to put that in perspective, if by the end of this month of September, your student has missed 2 or more days of school, they've already met the criteria and they already set to be chronically absent. So then, how is attendance measured? Well, as we know, attendance is taken on a daily basis. And if you've had a kid that's missed school by 10 a.m., if your child isn't present, you get that robocall, sometimes an email stating your child is not at school. Please contact the attendance office and let them know what the reasons are, if there's a doctor appointment, or if your student is ill. So if we think about what 10% of school translates to, it's 2 days a month. And if we have a 180 school year, 180-day school year, that means they're missing 18 or more days for the year. So when a student misses 10% or more of the school year, and the key thing is to remember this is all absences, whether excused or unexcused, it really means that they are now chronically absent. And absences count. So in New Jersey, there is a key distinction between excused and unexcused absences, which impacts the rate that we are discussing. So state excused absences, and these are absences that don't count towards that chronic absenteeism rate. These are very limited and defined by state law, and these include religious observances, college visits if you got a high schooler, take your child to work day, or participation in specific civic events. Now, unexcused absences, and this is a broader category because it includes any absence that is not on that short list. So that actually includes illness, family vacations, disciplinary measures such as suspensions. And a key point of distinction is that locally excused absence, because each district has its own policy where they can determine what is considered an excused absence. And so certainly, for those purposes, they can count them and say, well, the student is not meeting that level, but for the state reporting purposes, they count all of these towards that chronic absenteeism rate. And of course, let's not forget tardies, because there are a number of school districts that count tardies towards an absent. Many count 3 tardies equal 1 absent. So certainly that speaks back to each individual school district policy. So now let's talk about what counts as a school day. So a school day is defined by a minimum of 4 hours of instruction. And of course, for kindergarten, that would be 2.5 hours because they have shorter school days. And of course, schools are required to provide that full 180 days of instruction annually. Now, a student is considered present if they participate in at least half a day of instruction. And of course, remember, attendance includes field trips, so virtual learning. And of course, if you have a student that is currently on doctor-approved home instruction, and of course, if you've got a student that is gen ed, that home instruction is 5 hours a week. If they are special ed, that's 10 hours a week. Being on home instruction counts towards being present at school. And on the topic of presence, what is being present? What is the power of present? Well, if we think about even the definition of power, power is the ability to do something or act in a particular way, especially as a quality and capacity. So being present is about building capacity for that student. And attendance matters because when students are present at school, they can develop all of those skills that are outlined in the core curriculum content standards for New Jersey. And of course, as we all think of the major learning goals and academic content in core subject areas like math and science and ELA and social studies. And of course, we know what happens if your student misses a math class or two or three. It's very, very difficult for them to catch up. But also, little known fact, the core curriculum content standards covers more than just academic. They also cover a range of social, emotional standards as well. So when they're missing school, they're missing more than math. So, certainly if you want to explore more about why attendance matters, we are going to share in the chat a really great video from Attendance Works that will talk about parents talking to other parents about absenteeism and what that means for their students. So now let's talk a little bit about the data, the New Jersey data. Now, it's not great. In 2016 to 2019, the absenteeism rate was over 10%. That means 1 in 10 students missed over 18 days of the school year. And then during the pandemic, those numbers jumped to over 18% for 2021. But the better news is that it has since fallen. So for 2022, the New Jersey absenteeism rate was 16.6%. And for 2023 to 2024, it dropped even further to 14.9%, which means that we're actually in a better place than the nationwide average, which is 23.5% for 2024 and 26% for 2023. But we're still significantly higher than our pre-pandemic rates. And then, of course, there's the demographics. So the research is showing that the chronic absenteeism rates for homeless students are 40%. For foster care, 27%. For students of color, 21%. Disabilities, 21%, and students that are economically disadvantaged, 21%. And in order to address this, New Jersey has actually put in place a corrective action plan, a CAP, that started in 2018, and it requires that school districts do outreach to families and ask what's happening, get their input, and then create a plan to address the issues, brainstorm solutions in order to conquer our chronic absenteeism. And certainly, if you are interested in the data for your individual school districts, we're going to drop into the chat the data link that will show all of the districts for the state of New Jersey, and you can really explore what those rates are looking like. So now we're going to talk a little bit about something that has unfortunately impacted many families, truancy. What is truancy? Well, truancy is considered a status offense. And now I'm going to disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. But truancy basically means that it's a legal violation because of the student's age. And in New Jersey, schools are required to take action to address truancy before resorting to the legal measures. So when I say status offense, it means that, it's something simple, it's minor, but certainly school levels should be taking interventions prior to that letter that families do get where they're taken to truancy court. So let's explore that. If a student has 5 to 9 cumulative unexcused absences, a school intervention team or student assistance team can really contact the family and work on developing that corrective action plan and try to figure out what's going on. And of course, if in fact the interventions have taken place and the truancy continues, that is when there can potentially be an escalation where there's a referral to truancy court, the family part of the New Jersey Superior Court. And then you can have to go before the judge, and the consequences can vary. Um, the court's goal is always to compel attendance. And the results can be parents facing disorderly persons offenses, they can face fines, they can do counseling or community service. I've heard of $25, $25 a day fine. I've heard of $100 a day fine. And depending on the level of truancy, it can rack up to hundreds, thousands of dollars. So it should not really get to that point. If you are in the situation where you are struggling with potential truancy or truancy court, please contact our organization, SPAN, for individualized technical assistance. And now I'm passing it over to Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Kim, for that great information. So now let's bust a few common myths about why students are absent. On the left, we have the common myths, and on the right, we have the straight up facts. Number one, myth. Parents like to keep their kids at home from school. Fact. No parent wants their child to miss out on learning. Families are often facing significant challenges, and we'll explore many of these factors in a moment. Myth number two. It's okay to miss a few days. Students can easily catch up. Fact. Even just a few missed days add up and create learning gaps. What's more, absences in September are a strong indicator of a pattern of absences for the rest of the year. Myth number three. Kindergarten and high school seniors don't need to attend consistently. Fact. Every grade level matters. Early education builds the foundation for everything else, and consistent attendance for seniors is crucial for graduation and post-secondary planning. Before we move forward, let's pause to watch a short video that reminds us why every minute in school truly matters.
Introducing Every Minute Matters, the revolutionary approach to boosting your child's education. With regular attendance, your child can experience increased knowledge retention, improved social skills, and higher academic achievement.
Research states regular attendance has been shown to lead to
Better test scores, stronger friendships, increased confidence, improved career preparedness. Talk to your child about Every Minute Matters today. Warning: poor attendance may result in side effects including knowledge gaps, social isolation, decreased self-esteem, lower graduation rates, reduced future earning potential, chronic underachievement, increased risk of dropping out, and limited college and career options. Don't let your child suffer from effects of poor attendance. Choose Every Minute Matters for a brighter future.
choose to attend every day and succeed every day because every minute matters in U46.
Consult your school for more information on the benefits of regular attendance.
Being in school consistently has a huge impact on a student's success. Learning. Every day missed means a lost opportunity to learn. It makes it so much harder for students to catch up, and the gaps can start to grow quickly. Skills. Students don't just learn math and reading in school. They develop crucial academic, social, and emotional skills by being with their peers and teachers every day. Future opportunities. The data is clear. Good attendance is a strong predictor of higher academic achievement and future success. In fact, chronic absenteeism is the single strongest predictor of dropping out of high school. And connection. Being at school also helps students feel a sense of belonging and connection, which is vital for their overall well-being. And now over to Kim.
Thank you, Stephanie. So now let's explore understanding the why. What are the root causes? Chronic absenteeism is rarely due to lack of caring. As shared earlier, um, it's actually often a result of complex and interconnected factors, just like the roots of a tree, which may not be visible above ground, but they may be tied to that family's experiences in daily life. So let's look beyond the assumptions and focus on what could be some of the root causes behind that behavior. First off, let's talk about something that happens a lot throughout the state and nationwide: school avoidance. There's aversion to school, and then there's disengagement from school. And while they are distinct, they often work in tandem, because a student who starts to feel disengaged might eventually develop an aversion. And a student who has an aversion to school will naturally become disengaged. And what's key here is that they are both about that student's negative experience at school and what is compelling them or driving them or making them stay away. Well, academic difficulties. That can be a huge driver for absenteeism if your child is struggling at school and they can't do the work because it's too hard. Social issues. And the big one, bullying. Bullying. When that student feels as if they are being targeted, when they are afraid to go to school, when they are constantly under attack, whether it's verbal attack or physical attack or just harassment and intimidation. And of course, the state of New Jersey has a really wonderful harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy that you can go on the website and explore all the options to get that addressed. But those unresolved peer conflicts lead to isolation, and being without friends at school can make school feel like a hostile environment. And nobody wants to go somewhere where they feel lonely or where they feel unsafe. Mental health, such as anxiety and depression, could be major factors. So, getting on the bus because you're feeling depressed or you have a lot of anxiety, for many students, that can feel insurmountable. And depression can rob students of that positive school experience. And then there's trauma, considering if a student is experiencing trauma. Well, the solution might be to make sure that we have accessible mental health services and train our staff so that they can have trauma-informed practices to ensure that schools are a safe and healing space and not a source of further stress, which leads to a negative school climate. And this is really about the overall atmosphere or school culture. If students feel as if they're consistently being treated unfairly, or that the disciplinary measures are too harsh, or they feel targeted, it breeds distrust. And this is where we need to be particularly mindful about those informal removals, where a student is sent home for behaviors that don't necessarily require suspension, but they're told that they cannot come back. And then they feel as if they're not wanted, as if they're not welcome. So we really need to explore fair and restorative discipline measures in order to have a positive school culture. Now, other factors, disengagement from school. So this is where a student doesn't necessarily dislike school, but sees no reason to be there. That connection has been lost. One thing that happens is when there's a lack of interest in the curriculum, where the work that is being done seems maybe too easy, or they feel as if it's not relevant to them. They're bored. They ask themselves, why am I learning this? Maybe it's culturally irrelevant. Maybe it can't connect to their background or their experiences. So we need to consider using culturally responsive teaching, connecting the classroom lessons to the students' real lives and future aspirations. And then, yes, sometimes we need to do more professional development for our teachers and the teaching environment so the lessons could be more dynamic so that students who need extra help can get it. And then, of course, there is the fact that there are some students who may have some unmet needs or some undiagnosed learning disability or special needs that are not being accommodated, which then results in them feeling frustrated and disconnected and disengaged and withdraw. So make sure that we have early identification and intervention so that students can get the support that they need to go to school. And now I'm passing it over to Faith.
Thank you, Kim. With students avoiding school, that affects their attendance. We have identified 5 factors that are often outside of a student's control that prevent them from getting to school. Health issues, transportation problems, family responsibilities and challenges, and socioeconomic factors and supports. Let's start with what is often the most prominent and frequently overlooked barrier, health issues. Chronic conditions. Students with chronic illnesses like severe asthma or diabetes may have frequent absences for appointments, flare-ups, or rest. This also includes frequent tardiness or early dismissals. Mental health. Mental health issues such as anxiety or depression can make attending school extremely difficult. These conditions are often require professional care, leading to additional missed time. Access to healthcare. Financial barriers to healthcare are a major problem. Many families struggle with scheduling appointments, finding transportation, or avoiding copays and prescriptions. This can turn a minor health issue into a prolonged absence. An unhealthy school environment. A school environment with poor indoor air quality, lack of ventilation, or lack of support for students with specific health needs can also contribute to absences by existing health problems. Solution. We need to advocate for accessible, affordable healthcare for all families. This includes exploring partnerships for school-based health services where students can get basic care, mental health support, or even dental checkups without leaving campus. And we must work to promote and maintain genuinely healthy and safe school environments for all students. Next, we have transportation. This might seem straightforward, but it's fraught with daily challenges for many families. Based on distance, some families do not qualify for busing, but may still live far enough that they may need to use public transportation, which is not always reliable and can cause chronic tardiness. Some school buses that are also frequently late. And for families relying on their personal vehicle, a need for repairs, a flat tire, or simply not having enough money for gas can derail getting to school on time. And then for those who are on foot, the route to school can have its challenges, whether it's a neighborhood walk, safety concerns, major street crossings, or weather. Rain or snow can really impact access. The solution: families require safe, reliable, and affordable transportation options. This might involve advocating for better public transport routes, school bus schedule adjustments, or community rideshare programs. At-home responsibilities. This category often involves students taking in adult-sized burdens. Many students are responsible for elderly family members or caring for younger siblings, especially if parents work long or irregular hours. Some older students are working to support their families, meaning their job schedule directly conflicts with school hours. Now, being the oldest, I am the oldest in my family, oftentimes at-home responsibilities does affect a student's work. So don't forget to ask students if they're the oldest siblings and where they fall in the family dynamic. And then there are family emergencies, like a parent's sudden illness, a job loss, or domestic crisis that can pull a child out of school or extended periods. Solution: this calls for greater community support, such as flexible work policies for parents, access to affordable and reliable childcare support, and robust housing stability programs. Give people grace, immigrant families, and all other cultures. And now, over to Stephanie.
Thank you for that information, Faith. So let's talk a little bit about socioeconomic factors. Poverty isn't just about lacking money. It creates a cascade of barriers to school. Food insecurity. It means children come to school hungry or simply too weak or distracted to focus, or may even stay home if there's no food available. Children might lack adequate clothing for cold weather or simply feel embarrassed by worn out clothes, leading them to stay home. Housing instability, frequent moves, homelessness, or living in temporary shelters creates immense disruption and makes consistent school attendance incredibly difficult. There are countless obstacles to affording school related needs: school supplies, fees for extracurricular activities, field trips, or even just money for lunch. These costs, though seemingly small to some, can be insurmountable to others. What's the solution? Schools and communities can step in with school supplies and clothing programs, reduced or waived fees, and by establishing community resource hubs that connect families to essential services. Let's talk about supports and the availability of supports. Availability of cost of before and after school programming. This next barrier speaks directly to the daily grind for many working parents. For a significant number of families, school hours simply don't align with their work schedules. On one hand, some families are fortunate enough to have help at home. This might come from grandparents, an older sibling who can watch younger children, or other extended family members who live nearby and can provide care. These informal support networks are invaluable and often allow parents to work their full schedules without worrying about childcare during those critical before or after school hours. However, for many families, this kind of informal support simply isn't an option. Some parents need to have before and after care in order for them to get to work on time or work a full schedule. Without it, they face an impossible choice: compromise their job, which impacts family income and stability, or leave their child unsupervised, which carries its own risks and worries. The lack of available and affordable before or after school programs means parents struggle to find safe, supervised care for their children during these critical hours. Spaces in existing programs might be limited, or they might not operate during the specific hours needed. And even when programs exist, the high cost of existing programs often makes them inaccessible to low income families. For a family already stretching every dollar, adding hundreds of dollars a month for childcare is simply not feasible, no matter how much they value education. So, this is where extracurricular programs can also assist. A school that offers sports, clubs, or academic enrichment programs that extend a student's day can be a lifeline for parents. These programs not only keep students engaged and learning, but they also provide that much needed supervised time, acting as a form of aftercare that is often more accessible and engaging than traditional programs. So the solution here is we must advocate for more accessible and affordable before and after school programs. By expanding these options and leveraging extracurricular activities, we remove a major logistical and financial barrier for families. This allows students to attend school consistently while parents maintain stable employment. And now over to Kim.
Thank you, Stephanie. So now let's talk about ways in which we can address attendance directly. When we think about how this can work, we're talking about a partnership, that framework. Frame it as a partnership. Talk about attendance as a shared responsibility for that student's success. Have real and honest conversations about the direct impact of absent students. Resources such as absencesadup.org can help. Have that concrete action plan, that corrective action plan that that has been in place where you can address barriers that have been identified, and then being proactive. That means not waiting until there are so many absences that you're in truancy, ask early. Is there a plan in place for attendance? So we're going to throw in the chat that attendanceworks.org absences add up link for you. Because at the end of the day, it takes a village. And that proverb, it really does capture approach, that partnership approach to attendance, because it is not the sole responsibility of one person or a group. It's a shared accountability, a collaborative effort. We each can play a role in that effort to solve chronic absenteeism. And who are the villages? We're talking families, yes, because families are the experts on their children. They navigate those daily realities, they manage all their complex schedules, they have to do all the health. And, certainly we have to recognize a family's expertise and acknowledge the immense effort that they put in every day. Educators, they really can create a supportive and engaging learning environment. And that goes beyond just teaching. It involves building strong relationships and communicating effectively with both students and families. Educators are the first line of defense because they're the ones who notice when a student is struggling. And then, yes, students, you're active participants in your own success. And we need to help understand the value of attendance because, this is about your future. Your education is your future. And then, last but not least, community members, local businesses, not for profits, healthcare providers, all of the various resources. Let's go ahead and discuss the various ways in which you each individually can help support and solve chronic absenteeism. First off, educators. Really work on building partnerships with families. Let's try to shift from that punitive approach to more of a supportive and collaborative partnership. Support, not stress. So instead of acting as an adversary, build a bridge of support. Because when a family receives a truancy letter, it can feel very threatening. It can be very stressful and it breaks trust. The goal is to move from that punitive mindset of what's wrong with you to a supportive one. What can we do to help? Discipline, rethink discipline. Because the practices that rely on formal or informal removal, such as suspensions and detentions, it's not a solution. In fact, it can often exasperate the problem. Instead, identify what are the root causes and help that family. And then provide options for interventions because at every school, there is a group called the Intervention and Referral Services Team, the INRS team. And this falls in line with the New Jersey tiered system of supports where basically if any student is struggling academically, behaviorally, mentally, emotionally, the INRS team can convene and create a plan of interventions and supports based on that student's needs and helping families understand that that is available to them. And then, of course, communication and fair hearings, being proactive. Communication is essential. Let families know what is happening so you can build that strong foundation of trust. And then certainly another option for students particularly might be having incentives and visibility, meaning that you can create student incentives for attendance, having challenges or having rewards to motivate them to meet attendance goals, and maybe even putting on a public display of the data for each classroom might actually help motivate the entire school community and create a shared sense of responsibility. And then, yes, partner with families. Utilize your PTAs, which follow that national standard for family school partnerships, emphasizing communication and volunteering and decision making, and get family input and follow through. Now, for families, how can you do your part to help improve attendance? Well, first off, know the school policy. Families, you are responsible for getting your child to school. Go into your school code of conduct and find out what that attendance policy is so that you are very clear on what is happening. And then communication. If your student is sick or they're going to be absent, notify the school in writing ASAP. If applicable, provide the documentation about when they will be returning. If there's a chronic health condition, let the school nurse and the administration know in advance. And you can actually put a health plan on file in the nurse's office. That way, there's a plan in place. And then health needs, back to that individualized health plan. There are students who have chronic health conditions like asthma or diabetes, or there might be mental health challenges like anxiety. Work with the school nurse, work with the teachers to create a plan in place that supports school attendance. They can have a 504. They may go with the child study team and get evaluated for an IEP. If the absences are related to a disability, the school would be obliged to address them and put that in the plan in order that they can receive and access their education. And then home instruction. So if your student is going to be out long term, contact the doctor, get them to write a referral to the school. The school could then submit that to the school physician. They respond within 3 days. And then that student can be on official home instruction, not to be confused with homeschooling, which is entirely different. That means your student is not registered in school. Families sometimes confuse this. Home instruction is where you are receiving education at home from the school district because your student is out. And home instruction does not count as an absence. And then routines and preparedness, because having a predictable, organized, managed routine is key to improving school attendance. Prepare for school the night before so that it can reduce that morning stress and chaos. Make sure breakfast is in place. Make sure that you can help your child develop their executive functioning skills so that they can practice all the steps necessary so they can perfect that window to get out the door on time. And that way you can help reduce tardies and, of course, attendance rates. And then accessing community resources. So certainly working with the school if there is a need for a corrective action plan. But then you also have a variety of resources available. If you need help with food or housing or transportation, do you need to contact your local family support organization, your family success center, the churches, La Casa, who and wherever your village is, there are resources available. And on a separate note, if you as a family have a student that is struggling to go to school and your student is refusing, you do have an option to contact mobile response, and they will come to the home and they can give your student individualized therapy to overcome whatever issues are preventing them or causing that school avoidance. And even long term, you can get long term assistance through Perform Care. So there are resources. Utilize your resources because, as we know, it takes a village. Know who your village are. And now I'm passing it over to Faith.
Thank you, Kim. This slide is all about you, the students. We cannot do life alone. It takes a village. You're not just passive participants in this village. You are the central figures. You have a huge role to play in your own attendance and success, and it starts with a few key strategies. Number one, communicate and tell someone. Be honest. Be honest with a trusted adult about the real reasons you're missing school, whether it's because of bullying, struggling with the subject, or feeling anxious. Adults can't help you with the problem if they don't know what the problem is. Take care of your health. Listen to your body. If you're feeling unwell, let a parent or the school nurse know early. This applies to both your physical and mental health. Prioritizing your well-being is the foundation for everything else. Build strong habits. Create a consistent routine to reduce morning stress. Going to bed on time, setting a reliable alarm, packing your backpack the night before can make it much easier to get out the door. Participate and engage in school activities. What excites you about school? What are your hobbies or interests? Join a club, a sports team, or a theater production. There is so much more at school to do and experience that is above and beyond academics, and if you don't see it, start it. Utilize available resources. It's good to know your resources. Your school has a network of supports for you. The school counselors, nurses, and coaches, and of course, teachers. Ask. Whatever you need and whatever barriers you need to overcome, your family first, and then your school can help solve it. Communication is key, and we're all here for you. Community-based organizations. Now let's talk about the final and in many ways, the most powerful part of our village. Community-based organizations, also known as CBOs, these are the organizations that are uniquely positioned to do a comprehensive needs assessment. Instead of just focusing on attendance records, CBOs assess the family needs. And then they fill service gaps and provide critical resources schools use. So healthcare, connecting families to doctors, appointments, and transportation. Housing, offering resources for families facing instability or eviction. Food, linking families to food banks and assistance programs. A CBO can do warm transfers and direct referrals. Instead of just giving a family a phone number, directly connect them with a specialist like a state agency, FSO, or a family success center. Serve as a bridge to rebuild trust. Facilitate open communications. Have honest conversations and encourage educators and families to listen to one another and build bridges and partner better. Have an asset-based approach. They focus on family strengths and existing resources rather than assessing blame. By asking, what are your strengths and how can we work together to solve this? They empower families and build a collaborative and supportive relationship. And this is our activity worksheet, from absent to present. It provides quick tips for families with elementary, middle, and high school students. This printable document and many other useful resources are accessible in our Google Drive, which we will share with you once you complete the survey. And I'll hand the spotlight to Dr. Anisha.
Hi. Hello again. I'm back. And it's time for us to complete this survey. So take a minute, bring out your phones, scan this QR code, and take our brief survey. Your feedback is essential to helping us continue to deliver the quality, valuable, and engaging webinars like the one we had today. So we're going to give you a minute to complete that survey, and the survey link is also in the chat. Thank you so much for taking that time to complete that survey. And now we so loved having you here with us today that we want you to join us for some more of our events. We have a conference coming up at the end of the month, our SPAN Leadership Conference, which is on September 27th, which is a Saturday. It's the 2025 SPAN Parent Leadership and Advocacy Conference, Parent Leadership in Action, Creating Stronger Communities. We're going to have a keynote speaker. Her name is Valerie Williams, the former director of the Office of Special Education Programs at the U.S. Department of Education. We're going to have a panel discussion with some advocacy leaders and workshops on a number of topics, including family engagement. Please scan the QR code or look in the chat for the link to register. We have an upcoming Lunch and Learn workshop, Back to School, Moving Forward, on Tuesday, September 16th from 12 to 1. Registration information is on the flyer list, look on the screen, and we will put the chat in the chat the registration link. Next, we have 2 workshops from our partners at SEL for New Jersey. One is on Tuesday, September 16th from 6 to 7, and it's titled Empowered Kids, Building Self-Control and Responsibility. And the next workshop is on Wednesday, September 17th, again from 6 to 7, and this workshop is titled Building Our Learning Village, Respectful Collaborative Learning Spaces. Our partners at NAFSCI, the Center for Family Math, is hosting a webinar, Demystifying New Math for Families, How Centering Student Brilliance Builds Trusting Family Partnerships. That webinar is on Tuesday, September 11th from 2 to 3. Please scan the QR code on the flyer on the screen or use the link in the chat to register. Our Parents as Champions for Healthy Schools is having another round of virtual workshops. There are 3 workshops in the series. We have a set of workshops in the mornings and a set in the evenings. The dates are October 27th, November 3rd, and November 10th. Please join us for these workshops. You learn a lot of information about how schools operate and how you can engage with your school personnel as a family. Please scan the QR code to register for either the morning or the evening workshops. And the link is also in the chat. Last but certainly not least, we have another Family Engagement Hub webinar, part of our monthly webinar series on Tuesday, October 14th from 11 to 12 p.m. This workshop is titled Effective Strategies for Parent-Teacher Conferences. You can scan the QR code or use the link in the chat to register. Thank you so much for joining us here today. If you have not done so, please take the time to scan the QR code and complete our survey. As I said earlier, your feedback helps us to improve on our webinars and provide quality information to all of our partners here at the Hub. Follow SPAN on all of our social media platforms. Visit the Hub website, njfehub.org. You can also subscribe to our newsletter, The Engagement Exchange, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I know some people in the chat asked about the recordings. You can find all of the recordings from our past webinars on our YouTube channel, so please subscribe. We here at the Hub are here to amplify youth and parent voices. So we ask that you subscribe to all of our information, all of our channels, so you can access our valuable workshops and continue to learn strategies for building stronger family engagement throughout the state of New Jersey. Thank you again for joining us today at our chronic absentee webinar. We hope you have a good rest of your afternoon.